안녕하세요. 하하하하. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동산 왕콩입니다. 오늘은 일요일이죠. 날씨가 아주 좋습니다. 하늘이 아주 맑아요. 운동을 해야 되는데, 어제 제가 컨디션이 너무 안 좋았죠. 오늘도 좀 살짝 조금 안 좋습니다. 이제 잠을 자고 야간에 또 출근을 해야 되는데, 어제 과음을 했어요, 사실. 과음을 해서, 와, 오랜만에, 죽을 뻔했네. 과음한 것도 아니에요. 조금밖에 안 마셨는데도 아주 이제 몸이 쓰레기가 됐습니다. 그래서 일단은 오늘은 스트레칭을 하고요. 원래 스트레칭은 영상을 잘 안 찍으려고 했는데 스트레칭을 하고 그 다음에 커트벨로 스쿼트 몸 상태를 봐서 스쿼트를 하도록 하겠습니다. 일단 스트레칭 하겠습니다.
There wasn't really clear directions. Even when they told people to get their gas masks ready, there wasn't any direction about how to put the gas mask on, which is what initially got me more involved, I guess, in that process. There was a real fear in the air, and I really thought that at some point this crowd or this mob of terrorists would break through and they would assault us. And from what I saw on my way out, that's exactly what was about to happen. I saw this very slim, very like flimsy door being barricaded by some small chairs and two security guards with weapons. Had they gotten through that, and if it wasn't for the police officer shooting that terrorist trying to come through, we probably would have had a problem. They probably would have overran us, and we probably would have had maybe fatalities among members of Congress.
Congressman, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Coming up for us, there is a second impeachment in the works, as we've just been discussing, but there are only a few days left in the Trump presidency. Setting aside the politics, as I was talking about it with the congressman, is there enough time to get this job done? We're going to ask an expert about this. Plus, President Trump's fighting words just ahead of the riot.
We're going to have to fight much harder. I'd fight, they'd fight, I'd fight, they'd fight, bump, we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
We're aiming this to be the world's most sustainable vehicle. So for instance, all the carpets are made from recycled plastic bottles and fishing nets from the ocean. And so everything is sustainable about this vehicle. We use other recycled materials. We have a large solar roof on the vehicle. So I think the world is really, after COVID, going towards a cleaner world, and we got to do something about it. So our idea was to make the world's most sustainable car, but make it good looking, make it affordable. And that's what we have done. This is the first in a range of vehicles. But the point here is to create a vehicle which is really competitive with a similar gasoline vehicle, and that's what this is. But also really, go in and look at how can we make a vehicle more sustainable? How can we make the future cleaner? And we love our cars, and we got to make the cars cleaner. And that's our mission: is really to make the world's most sustainable vehicles.
When a watch does things beyond simply telling the time, we call those functions complications. And when we talk about watches with complications, we have to talk about Patek Philippe, the most prestigious of prestigious Swiss watch brands. And a classic example of what Patek Philippe could do is the perpetual calendar chronograph. Now, our perpetual calendar mechanically keeps track of days, months, and dates. It also lets you know if it's day or night. It keeps track of moon phases, and it lets you know when it's a leap year. Now that's a lot for a mechanical watch to do. When we talk about the Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar, we're talking about one of the great watches. This is a major feat of watchmaking.
the best way to get where we want to be. Let's get after it. The death toll is climbing. Cases are still going up. This virus has enormous capabilities of spreading like wildfire. When you see something that you know is wrong, you call the police. Why did they call 911? States need help. Federal government's quiet on too much.
Black Lives Matter should not be a partisan debate.
The virus is a contagious virus. It's getting out of control.
Home Prime Time, Tuesday through Saturday on CNN.
House Democrats are actively preparing new impeachment articles against President Donald Trump. They say the danger he poses is too great, even with his term soon coming to an end. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that they are prepared to introduce the articles as soon as Monday if the president hasn't stepped down. We just talked to a congressman who thinks they'll vote on Tuesday or Wednesday. But we know that the president has no plans to resign. He's preparing for another Senate trial, and sources say he is considering Rudy Giuliani and Alan Dershowitz for his defense team. Mani Raju has the latest details from Capitol Hill.
Democrats are pushing full steam ahead to give Donald Trump the dubious distinction of being the only president in American history who will be impeached twice. That's where all signs are headed for an impeachment vote by early in the week. Now, the question is exactly when Nancy Pelosi will make it official that they will go down this route. She's indicating they plan to do just that because she has demanded the president resign, or Vice President Mike Pence take those extraordinary constitutional actions to force the president out of office by the 25th Amendment of the United States. Now, Pence is showing no indication he's doing that. The president is showing no indication he is going to step aside. So Democrats plan to move forward with an impeachment resolution accusing him of inciting an insurrection. Now, Democrats behind the scenes have been trying to get co-sponsors on both sides of the aisle to sign on to this proposal. And the Democrats believe that they are making good progress to getting most, if not all, of their members on board behind this. There are 222 Democrats in the House. There's an expectation that they'll be able to get a majority of support within the full House when the chamber votes potentially by the middle of the week. Now, the big question will be what happens then, because there will only be a few days left in Donald Trump's presidency, and there's no indication that the Senate will come back before January 19th to begin an impeachment trial to remove Donald Trump from office. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, has indicated to his members that it would require the support of all 100 senators to change the schedule and come back into session for a trial. That essentially is not going to happen. So that may mean that an impeachment trial may be kicked into the new administration when Joe Biden takes office on January 20th. At that same time, Democrats will assume control of the Senate majority. So the question will be how that impeachment trial would work in a Democratic majority with a Democratic president going after a former president, try to convict him on the charges of inciting an insurrection and effectively prevent him from holding office again. So a lot of questions still remain. For the moment, Democrats are furious at the president's rule and the Wednesday mob that led to multiple people dying and deaths and clashes, including one police officer, U.S. Capitol police officer who died, and they believe the president needs to pay a price for that. So impeachment seems almost certain to happen in the matter of days. Manu Raju, CNN, Capitol Hill.
Manu, thank you so much. Joining me right now is Alan Fruman. He's a former Senate parliamentarian, which is the Senate's chief advisor on the interpretation of all of the chamber's rules and procedures. Alan, thank you for coming on. Can you talk to me about how this would actually work? Do you think a president can be impeached in the span of a little more than a week?
I think if the will is there in the Senate, that could be accomplished.
You know, Monty was mentioning kind of the position that Mitch McConnell has right now. The Washington Post obtained a memo that is being circulated by the senator where he argues that he does not think it is possible to hold a Senate trial before Trump's term ends. And here is how he explains it in part. He writes in this memo, again, it would require the consent of all 100 senators to conduct any business of any kind during the scheduled pro forma session prior to January 19, and therefore the consent of all 100 senators to begin acting on any articles of impeachment during those sessions. Is he right, Alan? What is he saying here?
Well, what he's referring to is the fact that the Senate has established a series of pro forma sessions by unanimous consent, and during those sessions, the terms of the pro forma sessions or that no business may be transacted. So on the face of the unanimous consent agreement, creating these pro forma sessions and prohibiting business until the Senate reconvenes for actual business on the 19th, that's a plausible state of affairs. It's a plausible interpretation of what those orders provide. However, it's possible that there is a way of getting around that. A couple of years after 9/11, the Senate adopted a resolution authorizing its two leaders to modify the time of convening of a session of the Senate. This was done really in response to 9/11, when the Senate could not convene on 9/11, but needed to convene on 9/12. But it had no authority to convene on September 12th at the hour that the leaders wanted to convene. Nonetheless, they sent around a hotline and told the senators we're convening at 11 o'clock on September 12th. And at least one senator who was the guardian of the Senate rules, Senator Robert C. Byrd, came to me very alarmed that the Senate had convened, in essence, without authority. And we discussed the need for some authority, something that would give the two leaders of the Senate the same kind of authority that every school board in the country has when a foot of snow is approaching, to either cancel school or to delay the beginning of the school day. And so the Senate did adopt a resolution several years later that basically authorizes the two leaders, if they believe circumstances warrant it, to, quote, modify a convening time. And so it's...
to your point, if there is a will, there is a way. That's exactly, that seems to be exactly it. Before I have to let you go, can you just give me your opinion on what an impeachment trial after Trump's term expires would look like?
Well, the Senate has in fact conducted an impeachment trial of the Secretary of War in 1876 after he resigned. And so a trial can occur against somebody who is no longer in the office from which his impeachable actions emanated. It would be unusual. That there obviously case first impression. Under the Constitution, when the president is tried, the Chief Justice of the United States must preside over the trial. Of course, the Constitution doesn't contemplate a trial of a former president, and so we don't know, at least I don't know, whether or not Chief Justice Roberts, let's say, would begin presiding if the proceedings began before Donald Trump, before his term ended and he was out of office, and whether or not Chief Justice Roberts would preside, but would then abandon the chair when Joe Biden became president. So these proceedings, if they go forward, shall we say, will be plowing new ground, nothing that any of us have really seen before.
Alan, your knowledge on this is just amazing. I'm so thankful. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
No matter what happens in the aftermath of the attack on the U.S. Capitol, Joe Biden is set to take the oath of office as President of the United States in 11 days. And sources tell CNN Vice President Mike Pence he will be attending the inauguration. As you know, his boss, Donald Trump, has announced he will not. Biden said Friday that Pence would be welcome. CNN's Athena Jones is standing by live in Wilmington, Delaware with the latest on this. Athena, Biden was crystal clear in saying that Mike Pence is welcome to the inauguration. What he was not so clear about was when he has been asked a couple times now about whether the president, he thinks the president of the United States should be impeached. What are you hearing about that?
Hi, Kate. You're right. President-elect Biden has not been beating the drums for impeachment. He has not been eager to add his voice to the Democrats calling for this. And there are two competing themes here. The idea of accountability, holding President Trump accountable for inciting the attack on the Capitol on Wednesday. But there's also the theme of healing. And we know that Biden, all during his run for the White House, has been using the idea of unifying the country, bringing the country together as one of his main arguments. So those are the competing themes. He was asked about whether he thought bringing articles of impeachment was a good idea during a press conference in Wilmington on Friday, and he didn't answer directly. He said several things. He talked about the timing, saying if there were 6 months to go, maybe then you'd throw everything at it. You try impeachment or 25th Amendment. But then he ended up saying that, look, I need to focus on, I am focused on the future, on my agenda that I want carried out. He said it's going to be a decision up to Congress what they do when it comes to impeachment, but I am focused on the virus, on the vaccine, on economic growth. One of the first things he wants to do is make sure that most Americans get that $2,000 stimulus check, and so he wants Congress to be ready to hit the ground running, and that's where the conflict lies if this ends up being something that goes into the next Senate. He'll be trying to do that while Biden is trying to have his team confirmed and get his agenda off the ground. Kate?
Great point, fascinating. Athena, thank you so much. So coming up, federal prosecutors are looking at everyone involved in the siege on the Capitol. Does that include President Donald Trump himself? We're going to have that and the charges filed against some of the rioters. That's next.
Insurrection at the Capitol. How did it happen? Who was behind it? Where will we go from here? Wolf Blitzer hosts CNN Special Report, The Trump Insurrection, Monday on CNN.
Oh. 아이고. 오늘 여기까지만 하겠습니다. 아 힘들어. 얼마나 했지? 20분 아직 안 했네. 여기까지만 하겠습니다.